She walked into a restaurant with only $5 in her purse and left with her life changed forever. What happened that night will make you believe in dignity, honesty, and the power of standing up for what's right. Watch until the end, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you believe respect is priceless. Sometimes, life gives you moments that test your heart, moments when no one is watching, and you have to decide who you really are. This story begins with a young woman named Sofia Delgado, living in New Orleans. She wasn't rich. She wasn't powerful. She didn't have much at all, but she had something many people forget about: honesty. Sofia worked as a maid in the mansion of a man she hardly spoke to, the billionaire Adrian Blackwell. Her days were long, dusting shelves, ironing suits, scrubbing marble floors that never seemed to stay clean. Her nights were even longer, because when she left that house, she wasn't free. She went home to a tiny apartment where her sick mother waited for her, and where her little brother studied under a weak lamp. Sofia's paycheck went to rent, to medicine, to school fees. And whatever was left, well, it was barely enough for groceries. But Sofia never complained. She carried her burdens quietly, like so many people do. One afternoon, while pressing one of Adrian Blackwell's expensive suits, she slipped her hand into the pocket, and there, tucked neatly inside, was an envelope. When she opened it, her breath caught in her throat. $3,000. Cash. Her heart pounded. For a moment, she froze, staring at the bills. It was more money than she had ever held in her life. Enough to pay her brother's school fees for months. Enough to fix the leaking roof in their apartment. Enough to finally breathe. And for one small second, she thought about keeping it. Who would ever know? Adrian had so much. She had so little. Wasn't it fair? But then she thought about her mother, about her brother, about the kind of person she wanted him to grow up to be. Sofia closed the envelope, walked straight to Adrian's office, and placed it on his desk. No note, no explanation. She just gave it back. And she left the room quietly, her hands trembling, her chest tight. You would think that kind of honesty would be rewarded. But later that evening, the house manager pulled her aside. "Sofia, your overtime is cut," he said. No reason, no sympathy. Just like that. Her extra hours, the little bit of money she counted on, gone. Sofia walked home that night with heavy steps. She had done the right thing. But instead of being thanked, she was punished. It hurt. And yet, she told herself, I'd still do it again. By the time she wired money to her mother and paid her brother's tuition, all she had left in her purse was a single, wrinkled bill. $5. That was it. Her safety net. Her bus fare. Her last emergency money. And that was when Daniel called. Daniel was the man she had been talking to online. Charming. Funny. He made promises that sounded sweet in the quiet of her lonely evenings. He suggested they finally meet in person. Dinner at La Fontaine, he said, naming one of the most expensive restaurants in New Orleans. Sofia hesitated. She didn't belong in a place like that. But Daniel laughed and said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Just for something nice." So she agreed. That night, she stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the hem of her deep emerald dress, the nicest dress she owned. It wasn't designer. It wasn't expensive, but she pressed it carefully and hoped it would be enough. She slipped her mother's old necklace around her neck, tucked her phone into her purse, and stared at the $5 bill inside. $5. That was all she had. She whispered to her reflection, "Please, let this night go well. Just this once." With her heart full of hope and her purse nearly empty, Sofia stepped out into the evening lights of New Orleans. Her blind date awaited, and she had no idea that the choice she made with that envelope of cash earlier that day was about to change her life forever. The restaurant La Fontaine was glowing that night. Crystal chandeliers, soft music, waiters in white shirts moving gracefully between polished tables. For most people, it was a place of celebration. For Sofia Delgado, it was a place that made her feel very small. She smoothed the fabric of her emerald dress and sat at a corner table, her back straight but her heart racing. The server had placed 2 wine glasses in front of her, one for her, one for the man who was supposed to meet her. Every time she looked at those glasses, she felt a sting of shame. This was not her world. She didn't belong here. Still, she told herself, Daniel invited me. He promised he'd handle everything. The server approached politely. His smile was kind, but his words made her palms sweat. Miss, may I take a card to hold the table? Just policy. We've had walkouts lately. A card? Sophia's stomach tightened. She had no card with a balance. Nothing but that wrinkled $5 bill. She forced a smile. My guest will be here soon. He said he'd take care of everything. The server hesitated. His smile flickered, then returned. Of course, ma'am. I'll check back shortly. As he walked away, Sophia's chest burned. She gripped her phone tightly. No message from Daniel. No reassurance. Just silence. Finally, the door opened. Daniel walked in with the confidence of a man who thought the world owed him something. Gray jacket unbuttoned, hair slicked back, his grin wide. He spotted her and slid into the chair across from her. Hope you weren't waiting long, he said casually. Sophia smiled nervously. Just a few minutes. Daniel snatched up the menu and laughed. Wow, prices here are insane. You picked this place. Her eyes widened. You suggested it. Right, he said, waving off her words like they didn't matter. He signaled to the waiter. Sparkling water for me. Then he leaned back. Let's just look around first. The server returned, clearing his throat. Sir, we'll still need a card before service begins. Daniel smirked and gestured toward Sophia. Ladies first. Her heart dropped. Heat rushed her face. I don't have one, she whispered. Her hands shook as she reached into her purse and pulled out the crumpled $5 bill. This is all I have. Daniel's laugh rang out, too loud, too cruel. $5. That's what you brought to a place like this. Sophia's throat closed. She looked down, blinking rapidly to hold back tears. You really should have warned me, Daniel continued, his voice rising. You've got a maid's salary, and you drag me here? Nearby diners turned their heads. Some looked away quickly, uncomfortable. Others whispered behind their menus. Sophia dabbed at the corner of her eye, pretending it was nothing. I didn't. Daniel cut her off sharply. What? You thought I was going to pay for some luxury show? You can't even cover bread. He leaned back, shaking his head. Honestly, I should have known. Look at you. Her hands trembled around the bill. I told you I don't have, she tried to say. Daniel snorted. Don't tell me you scrub floors or something. Oh wait, maybe you do. A maid, right? That explains everything. The word hit her like a slap. Maid. He said it loud enough for the whole room to hear. The floor manager approached, his tone clipped and professional. Excuse me, sir, ma'am. Without a valid card, we'll need to release the table. Policy. Sophia's lips parted. Her voice cracked. Then, I'll go. I don't want to cause trouble. She clutched her purse to her chest and pushed back her chair. Humiliation burned into her skin like fire. Her vision blurred. Her breath came short and sharp. She was about to leave, about to run out of that restaurant with every eye on her, when the sound of another chair scraping against the floor stopped her. Every head turned. A tall man rose from a table across the room. His suit was navy, sharp and elegant. His face calm, his eyes steady. Adrian Blackwell, her employer, the last person she wanted to see her like this. He stood there, his presence commanding the entire restaurant, his gaze fixed not on the menu, not on Daniel, but on Sophia. And with that one quiet moment, the whole night shifted. The restaurant was silent. Glasses stopped clinking. Forks froze in midair. Even the music from the piano in the corner seemed to fade. All eyes turned to the tall man in the navy suit. Adrian Blackwell. Sophia's heart sank. Of all people, why did it have to be him? Her boss. The man who owned the mansion she scrubbed every day. The man whose suit pocket had carried the envelope of money she returned without a word. And now, he was standing there, watching her humiliation unfold in public. Her lips trembled. Sir, she whispered, her voice breaking. But Adrian's gaze didn't waver. Calm, steady, strong. He stepped forward, his polished shoes echoing softly against the floor. When he spoke, his voice carried across the entire dining room. That won't be necessary. The manager froze mid-step. Daniel frowned, confused. Sophia stood clutching her purse, half wishing she could disappear. Adrian reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a sleek black card. He handed it to the manager without even looking at him. Place whatever hold you need on this, and then apologize. To her. The manager blinked. His throat bobbed. Sir, I didn't mean. Adrian's eyes narrowed. You humiliated her. In front of everyone. You don't apologize to me. You apologize to her. The manager turned to Sophia, face pale. Miss, I'm sorry. I should not have spoken that way. Sophia's hand shook. It's fine, she whispered, her eyes cast down. But Adrian's voice cut through the air, sharp as a blade. No, it's not fine. Don't apologize for being humiliated. They apologize for humiliating you. The diners shifted in their seats. Some nodded. Others looked at Sophia with new respect. Daniel leaned back in his chair, smirking. He crossed his arms, smug and defensive. Oh, so you know her, he said. That explains a lot. Figures she works for you. You're really going to stand here and save your maid in front of everyone. The word maid hung in the air like poison. Sophia flinched, her cheeks burning. Adrian turned his gaze on Daniel, calm but unyielding. She's not just a maid, he said firmly. She's Sophia, and tonight she's my guest. Gasps rippled through the restaurant. Whispers buzzed between tables. Daniel scoffed, shaking his head. Come on, man. She came here with $5. $5. And you're going to pretend she belongs here. Adrian's jaw tightened. His voice dropped lower, colder. You want to talk about money? Let's talk about integrity. He took a step closer to Daniel. The room leaned in. This afternoon, Adrian said, she found $3,000 in my jacket. Cash. No record. No witnesses. She could have taken it. No one would have known. The room felt utterly still. Adrian's eyes hardened. But she didn't. She placed it back on my desk without a word. That's who she is. That honesty is worth more than every insult you've thrown tonight. Sophia's lips trembled. Tears slipped free as she covered her mouth with her hand. Daniel's smirk faltered. She's playing you. Adrian's tone sharpened. Delete the recording. The crowd stirred, heads turning toward Daniel's phone on the table. Its red light blinked, still recording. What recording? Daniel stammered. Adrian's stare didn't break. Delete it. Now. Two security guards stepped forward, their arms folded. Under their glare, Daniel cursed, fumbling with his phone. The red light disappeared. He shoved the device into his pocket and stood abruptly, his chair screeching against the floor. Enjoy your charity project, he spat, his face flushed red. She's all yours. He stormed out of the restaurant, the door slamming behind him. A collective exhale rolled through the dining room. Sophia stood frozen, her purse clutched tight, her cheeks wet with tears. Adrian turned back to her, his voice soft now. Sit. Her body trembled. Everyone's staring, she whispered. Let them, he said firmly. They're not staring at shame anymore. They're staring at what respect looks like. Slowly, almost in disbelief, Sophia sank back into her chair. The room buzzed with quiet awe. Strangers who moments ago were whispering about her poverty were now looking at her with dignity. And for the first time that evening, Sophia felt seen. The restaurant was still buzzing with whispers when Adrian Blackwell calmly took his seat across from Sophia. The waiter, nervous now, approached their table. Shall I take your orders, sir? Adrian didn't bother looking at the menu. His eyes stayed fixed on Sophia. Bring her something simple, he said. Not for show. Something she'll enjoy. Minutes later, a plate of roast chicken with vegetables arrived. Golden and warm. No fancy garnish, no pretense. Just food meant to comfort. Sophia stared at the plate, her hands trembling. She felt the weight of every eye in the restaurant still on her. You didn't have to do this, she whispered, her voice breaking. Adrian leaned forward slightly, his gaze steady. Yes, I did. Why? Because you gave me honesty when no one was looking. Tonight, I gave you dignity when everyone was. The words sank deep into her chest. Tears blurred her vision. She picked up her fork, but her hand shook so badly that she set it down again. Adrian's tone softened. Eat, Sophia. Not for them. For yourself. So she took a bite. The chicken was tender, the vegetables sweet. And with every mouthful, her shame eased, just a little. For the first time that evening, she breathed without pain in her chest. Adrian sat quietly, letting her find her calm. He didn't gloat, didn't lecture. He simply gave her the one thing she had been denied all night: respect. Finally, Sophia found the courage to speak. Her voice was soft, fragile. People like me, we're invisible. We clean the floors, we wash the dishes, we make the beds, but no one really sees us. Tonight, when he called me a maid, everyone laughed inside, even if they didn't show it. And I believed him. I believed I was less. Adrian's eyes never wavered. You are not less. What you did today, returning that money, you proved you're more than most people in this room. Sophia shook her head, fresh tears sliding down her cheeks. It was just money. No, Adrian said firmly. It was character. You can't buy that. You can't fake that. The room around them faded, and for a moment, it felt like there were only two people in the world, Sophia and Adrian. You deserve more than humiliation over $5, Adrian continued. You deserve more than scraping by, always being treated as if you don't matter. Tonight, you saw how quickly people can judge. But I want you to remember something. Respect doesn't come from money. It comes from who you are when no one is watching. Sophia's lips curved into a shaky smile. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, Adrian replied softly. Just eat. And know that tonight, no one in this room sees a maid. They see a woman who had the courage to be honest, even when life gave her every reason not to be. Sophia lifted her fork again. This time, her hands were steady. She took another bite and another until her plate was empty. And with each bite, the humiliation that had burned her heart began to heal. For the first time in a long time, she felt something she thought she had lost: dignity. And across the table, Adrian Blackwell watched her quietly, as though he already knew that this night would change her life forever. The next morning, the mansion was quiet. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, painting golden lines across polished floors. Sophia stood nervously by the doorway to Adrian Blackwell's office, her uniform neat, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. She hadn't slept much. Her mind replayed the night at La Fontaine again and again. The humiliation, the laughter, the cruel words, and then Adrian standing tall, his voice cutting through the room like thunder, defending her when no one else did. Now she was here, unsure of what would happen next. Inside the office, Adrian was speaking with Lucia, the director of human resources. His voice was calm but unyielding. Her overtime was cut without cause, he said. Restore it. With back pay. Lucia hesitated, shifting uncomfortably. Sir, that's unusual. Adrian's eyes hardened. So is what she did yesterday. Handle it. Lucia opened her mouth, but Adrian wasn't finished. And one more thing, he said. Enroll her in evening classes. Hospitality management, bookkeeping, whatever she chooses. Full tuition. Effective immediately. Lucia blinked in surprise. Sir, that's not standard procedure. Adrian leaned forward, his voice sharp. Neither is returning $3,000 when no one is watching. Do it. Lucia swallowed hard, then nodded. Yes, sir. Sophia's breath caught. She stared, wide-eyed, as the weight of his words sank in. Her overtime restored. Classes paid for. A future she had never dared to imagine, placed in her hands. Her voice shook as she whispered, Why would you do this for me? Adrian turned to her then, his eyes softer than she had ever seen. Because no one who shows that kind of honesty should ever be punished for it, he said. No one should walk into a restaurant and be humiliated for $5. You deserve more than survival, Sophia. You deserve the chance to grow. Her lips trembled. I'll pay it back. Every cent. I promise. He shook his head firmly. This isn't debt. This isn't charity. This is justice. And it's yours. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. She pressed her hand against her mouth, trying to steady herself. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me, Adrian said gently. Just remember this moment. And when it's your turn, when life gives you the chance, pay it forward. The words wrapped around her heart like a promise. She nodded, her tears finally breaking free, but this time they carried no shame, only hope. And so, Sofia Delgado's life began to change. She wasn't just a maid with $5 in her purse anymore. She was a young woman with dignity, with a future, with someone who believed in her when the world tried to break her. That night at La Fontaine became more than a humiliation. It became the moment she discovered her worth. And all because one person chose to stand up when everyone else stayed silent. Now, I want to ask you something. If you had been there, if you had seen Sophia humiliated over $5, what would you have done? Would you have looked away, pretending it wasn't your problem? Or would you have stood up, like Adrian did, and reminded the world what respect looks like? Because sometimes dignity is worth more than all the money in the world. So tell me, if you had seen Sophia humiliated over $5, would you have looked away, or would you have stood up? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your voice matters. And if this story touched your heart, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more powerful stories, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that dignity is priceless.